You're watching the Chevrolet Sports Night.
Welcome back to the program. I'm JB Ricks. The Panthers suffered their first loss of the season on Sunday, 34-13 to New Orleans. Perhaps more alarming is Carolina managed just one touchdown against the lowly Saints defense. It was the only time the Panthers found the end zone in their last two games. But you can't just blame the offense for this defeat. Jason Brown has more with what went wrong on both sides of the ball for the Panthers.
Certainly a lot for the Panthers to improve upon following their first loss of the season here at Bank of America Stadium, 34-13 to NFC South Division rival New Orleans. Now, sure, Drew Brees is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but even head coach Ron Rivera very disappointed with what he saw defensively from his unit, giving up 362 yards of offense to the Saints.
We played sideways. We didn't play downhill. We didn't play into our creases. We didn't control our gaps. Quite honestly, that's exactly what I saw.
I mean, you let up 30 points and have a bunch of big plays, and, you know, they ran the ball when they wanted to run it, they threw when they wanted to throw it, so it doesn't matter what you do the week before, it matters what you do on the day of the game.
Now, offensively, the Panthers again struggled to get into the end zone. Sure, they were without Greg Olsen and their Pro Bowl center, Ryan Khalil, but then they lost their top receiver, Kelvin Benjamin, early in this contest. Easy to make excuses. Coach Rivera and company said excuses are just that.
You kick 2 field goals against a defense, you know, that's had some early struggles. It gives them a little bit of momentum. You know, but if you go down and you take the opening kickoff because they deferred and you score right away, that's a pretty powerful thing for your offense. We had a chance to make a statement as a football team, and we didn't.
We just have to find ways to score points, and keep the momentum in our favor. When you score 3 points, yeah, that's a plus, but it's still not 7 points.
So the Panthers suffer their first loss of the season, and things don't get any easier going forward. Next week, a date in New England with the defending Super Bowl champs. From Bank of America Stadium with the Panthers, Jason Brown, Spectrum News.
All right, thanks for that, Jason. Now, we would be remiss if we avoided the clear-cut top story of the week for this edition of the Ricks Review. There were an insane amount of exhilarating finishes and marquee matchups all across the board, but the headlines were dominated by the protests taking place throughout the entire NFL during the national anthem. Normally, I like to give my 2 cents on this sports topic, and I'm a firm believer of sticking to what I know, which is sports. But in this edition of the Ricks Review, where politics and sports have clearly clashed, I'll begin by stating the facts. It all started Friday when President Donald Trump was at a rally in Alabama. He was addressing the issue of kneeling and NFL players protesting during the national anthem.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a off the field right now, out, he's fired.
That kicked off a firestorm throughout the entire NFL. Owners across the league weighed in via social media, voicing their outrage with the divisive comments. Many expressed their support for players' rights to voice their opinion. In several games throughout the day, owners from numerous teams locked arms with their players on the field to display that support. The most notable protests came from the Steelers, Titans, and the Seahawks, all choosing not to be present during the playing of the national anthem. Only Army veteran Alejandro Villanueva stood just outside the tunnel for the Steelers, while the rest of the team waited in that tunnel behind him. Now, it didn't stop there. Trump extended his negative comments towards Charlotte native Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. Steph had said on Friday during the Warriors Media Day that he himself was not interested in visiting the White House to commemorate their world championship from this past summer. Well, that got back to President Trump, who immediately pulled out his Twitter fingers and revoked the Warriors' invitation to the White House, saying, quote, going to the White House is considered a great honor for a championship team. Stephen Curry is hesitating, therefore invitation is withdrawn, end quote. Curry responded with this on Saturday.
I don't know, why he feels the need to target certain individuals rather than others. I have an idea of why, but it's kind of it's just kind of beneath, I think, a leader of a country to go that route. It's not what leaders do.
This story has transcended all across sports, folks, not just the NFL. We saw the first Major League Baseball player kneel during the national anthem the other night. The North Carolina men's basketball team has declined their invitation to the White House due to scheduling conflicts. And members of the NASCAR community have taken their stance, with Richard Childress saying before the race at New Hampshire this afternoon, quote, "Get you a ride on a Greyhound bus when the national anthem is over. Anybody that works for me should respect the country we live in," end quote. Also, Richard Petty told USA Today, quote, "Anybody that don't stand up for the anthem ought to be out of the country, period," end quote. As you can see, there are harsh stances being taken on both sides for one of the most polarizing topics I've seen during my lifetime. Growing up, I never imagined seeing this country, our country, the greatest country on planet Earth, dealing with such a massive divide. But it's time to face the facts. This is where we are in 2017. More than 5 decades removed from the heart of the civil rights movement. Those who know me best know how deeply I care about family. I have a nephew who gives his life for this country every day in the U.S. Army, so I know firsthand how appreciative I am of what that flag means and what it represents. But when my 22-year-old nephew comes home and tells me that he sometimes feels safer overseas more than he does in the country he fights for, then there's a reason why athletes are using their platform to bring attention to the social injustices taking place in our country. On that note, we've got to take our final timeout, but coming up, we'll have the results of our Twitter question of the night, and we'll let you know who the 2017 FedEx Cup champion is on the other side. But first, let's roll that animation.
This is the Chevrolet Play of the Day.
Our play of the day comes the NFL gridiron. Giants and Eagles, second and goal, Eli to OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. making another ridiculous highlight reel catch. Only that guy can pull that off right there, folks. And this probably isn't the first time I say this, but OBJ, you get tonight's Chevrolet Sports Night Play of the Day.